Businesses inside communities are sticky. Well, TJ, Taylor, whatever you're gonna call me, what do you mean by that? There's a train about to come by, so we're gonna wait. And wait. Great timing.
2 hours later.
Well, we all just got our property tax statement in, and mine, just like yours, went up again. So I guess the question is, how do we combat our tax increases? But how do we combat our tax increases? And I think that's a good time to insert the commercial perspective into our tax base, right? The question we get is why? We're going to talk about how this affects our town of Auburn. We're going to look at Georgia as a whole. Then we're going to circle back to the application of it. When a city starts adding commercial into its portfolio, it's important. As some of y'all know, Auburn is in a bit of a conflict with that because it's not really been on our radar lately. Years and years ago, if you look inside the history of Auburn, we used to be a little manufacturing town, little booming town. We did a lot of, I guess, cotton mill and supporting factory work for our neighbors in Winder who did clothing. So it would come here, we would begin the process of making it and then send it out there via the railroad for them to be produced worldwide, or not worldwide, but nationwide. So once upon a time, Auburn was a booming little town for manufacturing. Today, we're missing that commercial aspect, right? And because of that, our tax base relies heavy, and the same thing with Barrow County in general. Our tax base relies heavy on me, you, the property tax owner, residents, right? That's our big tax base. But why? Why would we be considering this? And how does this affect Auburn, right? So some studies came out from UCLA and a couple others that said adding 1,000 businesses into a community, and this is kind of, I guess, the county as a perspective, right? Adding 1,000 businesses into communities can help lower our unemployment rate by 11%, or 0.11 points, if you want to look at it from the smaller scale that we're judged off of. And also, and how does that work, right? So for every business that comes in, there's a correlated 7 additional jobs, whether it's directly or indirectly, to help support that business. Now, what do I mean by directly? Well, that's somebody who hires directly, whether it's our neighbors who are a pizza place, or as you can see behind me, our whistle stop shops, whether they're hiring directly inside and hiring employees to come and work for them, or indirectly. And what does that mean? Well, there has to be something to support those businesses, right? So, for instance, our neighbors back behind us, further back, Boise Cascade, right? Great partners inside the city. Now, indirectly speaking, each of those employees hired directly needs somewhere to go, whether it's a place to eat, a place to shop, a place to put gas inside their vehicles. Those are the indirect impacts that a business doesn't feel, but a community does. So each business, on average, there's 7 additional jobs per business employer to support that. That's astounding to me, that a community can benefit from adding one small business. It needs 7 additional jobs from that one startup. That one person startup needs 7 additional. Beautiful. 2011, we had the recession, right? Statistically speaking, 40% of communities who had higher density micro business inside their communities recovered substantially quicker than communities without. Now, how? Right, well, that comes down to having more jobs in the area. That comes down to, again, the direct and indirect aspect of that. But also, there's a housing perspective that helps as well. And I don't mean building houses, I mean the value of it, the value of the community in a dollar amount, right? For every 100 people in a county or a community, adding a micro business increased the home value by almost $500 a year, right? So that helps with the value of your property when you go to sell it, the community the feeling, the demographic of the community, rising each other up and just bringing nicer things to the community, whether it's restaurants or businesses outside of that, things that people want because they want the amenities inside their community. So what makes small business so attractive for a city like Auburn, right? It comes down to the fact that they're sticky. Businesses inside communities are sticky. They're sticking to the community that they were born in.
You understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
So in a survey of over 1,400 businesses, 995 of those were from the place that they were from, if that makes sense. So the place that the person was from, the business originated from, and they stayed. 70% of the businesses hung around, right? So whenever that happens, that creates the sense of community and culture inside. It's just like what's behind me right now, our Whistle Stop Shops. Whistle Stop Shops is a staple of our community. Now, I can go to a conference, I can go to meet other folks from other cities. I've met folks from Jenkinsburg, Georgia, who know of the Whistle Stop Shops. They say, you're the city that has the cute little buildings downtown. Yep, that's us. It becomes a staple, it sticks. It's what you're known for, right? Whether it's a Whistle Stop Shop, or it's a brewery, or whether it's an outdoor event, whether it's a town center, you become known for what you build and give to your citizens. And I think what's important when it comes to that is that's what builds the community, right? It's not so much the building, the actual facade, the structure. It's the people there. It's the people who make it. But it's the people who invest inside that. The citizens who invest, the business owners who invest, the folks that you come out and talk to, right? That's what makes your community feel like a home. But for a second, let's take it back just a moment and look at the state as a whole. Several years in a row now, Georgia has been ranked #1 to do business. We were #1 in energy availability and cost, #1 in labor availability and competitive labor market. We were #1 in logistics and infrastructure. We also got rated #5 as the best state to start a business. I mean, that's top 10 percentile, right? #5 in the US to start a business, start a startup business, right? Small business. We're also 5th in the US for the female entrepreneurial side of things. So, I mean, Georgia is a hotbed for business. That's why in the Southeast, everything comes to Georgia. What's also interesting is, I actually didn't even know this, we were 10th in the US last year for the fastest growing state by GDP. I mean, that's impressive. That's honestly impressive. Georgia as a whole is still a country state. Yes, we do have outliers like Atlanta and Columbus and Augusta and Athens where the city's booming, but our state is still a beautiful countryside state. It really is. And for businesses to seek after that in order to invest here, I mean, that is something special. Another statistic that I found that was pretty interesting was 99.6% of the businesses inside of Georgia are small businesses. Small businesses are responsible for over 87% of Georgia exports. I mean, that's absolutely incredible, right? So just like our neighbors here, Boise Cascade, they're responsible for nationwide building material. And that's made right here in my home city. And I take a lot of pride in that. What I thought was also neat, because I was looking at how the survival rate, you know, with that many small businesses, how does a small business survive? Because it seems incredibly competitive and oversaturated, right? But turns out it's not. So 79% of small businesses inside Georgia stay around over a year of operation. And I think you get that survival rate with all those additional supports of Georgia being just a leading point of small business. So you go and look at the unemployment rate as a whole, right? So surely with Georgia having 99.6% of its businesses being small businesses, surely,
and don't call me Shirley,
that helps us on the unemployment rate, right? Well, it does. As a matter of fact, as of last month, January 2025, we were half a point lower than the U.S. average. So Georgia came in at 3.7% unemployment rate, while the U.S. average was 4.1. I mean, that's a wonderful thing. That really stands for how great Georgia's doing, not just in the Southeast, but in our nation, right? I mean, historically speaking, Georgia has had an interesting unemployment rate. We were almost been at 6% if you look at our average, 6%. So adding these small businesses has obviously spoken to such wonder of how good Georgia's doing when it comes to business, and it because we get ranked, right? I mean, we're #1 to do business, period, right? There's no ifs, ands, or buts. We're #1 to do business, and this shows. So let's look back for a sec of while we're sitting here talking about this, and how does this benefit us? Is how does this combat taxes? How does this, when I get my tax sheet, when I get that tax sheet and it says I got to pay more than I did last year,
that makes me mad.
and it makes me mad. It makes you mad. It makes me mad. It makes my neighbor mad because I get a phone call. That's why I'm here, right? How do we work on combating that? Because people need police, people need fire, people need emergency services. People deserve to have those amenities, right? You can't tell them no. So how do we combat the increasing taxes? Businesses. So let's look at this. The city did a study back in 2010 looking at sales that were being missed just in our local area, right? Within a 5-mile span, the city was missing out on $120 million worth of sales.
Holy cow.
Now this excluded. This did not include groceries. This did not include gas, right? So outside of that, which would be substantially higher, we're missing out on $120 million in 2010. Let's calculate inflation. My pockets feel inflation just like yours do, trust me. If we calculate that inflation, it's $172 million that are leaving my city within a 5-mile radius. How do we capture that? We start trying to attract businesses. We start offering business opportunities, like through whistle-stop shops, other retail opportunities, other business opportunities. Let's work on, and I can't force people to come, right? If I could yank somebody if I could yank a Texas Roadhouse here, if I could yank a Target or a Costco or a Sam's Club, I would do it in a heartbeat. I've tried. But how do we start that? And I think it comes down to putting the city's foot forward, right? And that's working on private-public partnerships to get business interested here, showing that the city's interested in doing just like what the state does, and that's bringing business. Y'all come on, let's do business. So just like I said, 5-mile span, $172-ish million. I mean, rough. Let's look at it from a penny sales tax, right? So let's say if I got a neighbor, let's say the mayor of Tequila wants to come and spend $1 here. That's who we're trying to get. We're trying to get that Gwinnett County tax base to come over here and spend some money in our city. We're neighbors. We implement a sales tax of 1 penny, right? So that's your T-SPLOST, your transportation special purpose local option sales tax, or just a normal SPLOST, or a LOST, right? So that's a penny sales tax. I'd say we capture all $172 million. That's $1.7 million that's brought into the county if we're able to capture that. The county as a whole. That's off 1 penny sales tax. Almost $2 million we're able to capture just inside of our city for our county as a whole. Because each city, each municipality inside the county benefits from a sales tax. That's roadway advancements, that's parks, that's sidewalks, that's recreation. Those are all things that you deserve to have. And the best thing about those penny taxes is when we invite neighbors from Houston, Brazelton, neighbors from Walton County, Athens, Clark, Gwinnett County to come and spend money here, because if you build it, they will come, I promise you. When you invite them to come and spend money here, those penny taxes help offset your millage. And I don't know if that gets talked about enough. I don't know if it gets pushed enough, but that is the beauty of offering a sales tax versus just taxing your residents. I'm a resident here. I don't like getting taxed just as much as you do. So if I can invite a friend to come over here and eat dinner and hang out and spend money, that helps us, right? Plus, I don't want my tax dollars to leave. I get told all the time from my neighbors here in town how much they would rather spend their dollars here inside their city. And honestly, I take a lot of pride in that. I think that is a beautiful thing that a citizen would come to me and say, I would rather stay here than go to Deculo. Think about that for a minute. Think about that. Someone willing to come to me and say, I'd rather spend my money here, because they see the value in their dollar staying locally, being spent locally, right? So you go to let's say our neighbors over here at Rocky's Pizza, go and sit down and have a pizza. That one penny that you spent there goes to help pave a main egress. And I don't know if you've ridden on the roads here, they need to be paved. So when y'all passed, y'all gave us the opportunity, y'all gave us, me, the elected official and the governing body, the opportunity to run T-Splost and passed it. Those dollars go towards paving these roads that desperately need it. And our neighbors who come here and spend money are helping pave, pun intended, right? Pave the way to making sure those tasks are progressing. That's a win. That's a win. So I know sometimes it doesn't make sense to keep adding businesses, and I'm not saying as our amazing president would say, build, baby, build. I'm not saying that, because I think there's a way to do it. I think there's a way to consider the historical value inside living such a beautiful city. There's a lot of history here, folks. There's a lot of beautiful history here. I think there's a wonderful way to tie in history with the present so we can plan for the future. Everybody wins when it comes to the commercial portfolio being expanded. Our school system, I think it was in 2023, we voted to continue passing the eSPLOST, the Educational Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax. And it passed with an astounding 83% yes. That one penny goes back to our school system. Our governor has worked so hard in such rural areas in South Georgia to help bring manufacturing back, because that has raised a lot of communities in South Georgia that were forgotten. I firmly believe that a rising tide raises all ships, and so if we can discover that balance between commercial, residential, and industry, I think we're going to win. And I think we're going to help keep our taxes at a point where it's palpable. It's not so shocking, but we have to get there first, right? So as always, thank you guys so much for the opportunity to serve you. I am so grateful that I get to sit here and talk to you and work for you guys. It has been the absolute most blessed opportunity I have ever had bestowed upon me. And again, I just want to express my gratitude. You know, it's been such a wonderful experience working with staff, working with citizens in order to build and work on a future that all of our family gets to enjoy. God bless you. See you next time.